Well, hello to the YouTube, and I'm just getting the rest of my devices going. And here we go. It is Friday, December 13th. This is going to be my final 15-minute Friday for the year. I'm going to be off starting next Friday. And so I won't be doing one then. I had hoped to have a very boring update for you today. But here we have the green line in the news again. So I am just I don't even know. I mean, I wish I could say that I was surprised that I received notification that the province has decided on a new alignment that they're approving. That I hadn't received that through a text message from one of my colleagues to say, "Do you have anything in your inboxes about the alignment? I thought we were announcing with the province together." Only thing I'm seeing is a Rick Bell article. So let me be clear. When the province decided to withdraw funding earlier in the year, Rick Bell article. This new alignment, approved alignment by the province, Rick Bell article. No other media outlets were updated. City Council got nothing in our inboxes. The working group committee that we struck, they got a quick briefing at 7 a.m. this morning. And that's it. So alignment aside, because it's going to be what it's going to be. And I think you have a council that is very committed to delivering public transit, to delivering a Green Line product or a Southeast train, whatever you want to call it. We'll just keep calling it the Green Line. And a lot of people said the Green Line is dead. You shouldn't use that name anymore. The reality is it's the color of the line. We have the red line, we have the blue line. This is going to be the Green Line. So we can just keep calling it the Green Line, maybe small g. Doesn't even matter. My challenge is we obviously have a government who didn't learn from their mistake in the past, i.e. going to Rick Bell to tell us the news, and they repeated the exact same behavior. Actions speak louder than words. This has been an incredibly frustrating provincial government, provincial administration to work with. Behind the scenes, we have a council that is trying to save face over and over again because we have other projects that are critical, important to the city of Calgary, to economic development, to other transit projects. And we have a government who is forcing our hand. And then when we speak out against them, because they're bad actors, because they just don't have the principled approach to work with their partners in a kind way, to give us information so that we can make appropriate comments, whether we agree with the alignment or not, we know that our hand has been forced. It's really about the respect that you give other leaders, that you give other people who are on the working group, that you give Calgarians. That one single columnist, not a journalist, columnist is getting this information. And that you're not even doing a briefing and a presser as agreed upon. And so for me, it is just the continued disrespect that frustrates me about this provincial government. And they make these kind of announcements all the time. Schools, right? They rolled out announcements about schools in the same way. They do housing announcements this way, the insurance, and they are doing it without consultation, without their partners on the table. And whether we agree with the alignment or not, it's really about how you treat each other. And so I really struggle. And so it makes it so hard to get on board with this narrative that we can talk to Calgarians about without having this sour taste in your mouth. And so it's really hard and really frustrating. And I don't know when I'm going to get to see this alignment, maybe at council next week. I don't know when we're going to get the briefing and the information. It's now been hours since this news article came out, and we have nothing in our inboxes. And so anyways, I'm at a bit of a loss. I will say this. I don't know that we're getting a better product. And I think at the end of the day, we are it's really about delivering on something, not nothing. That for me is going to be a value. I think that there's lots of work that is going to still need to be done around this project. I would love to see the costs of this project. Again, we have no idea how much this is going to cost compared to the other project. The province is saying utility relocates along the pre-approved alignment, and we're going to have to redo those utility reallocates. So I don't know if they factor that cost into the project right now. So there are so many questions and so many unknowns, and that I am not sure about, and I hope that those have all been factored in, but I don't know. And to remind you, we spent almost $1 billion, 1B of that 6.2 on utility relocates for the originally approved alignment, and we are now somewhere else. So I have no idea. So I guess we'll find out next Tuesday. So hopefully next Tuesday there will be an update at council, and we can all learn a little bit more together. Just join the journey with us. What else can I tell you? Council Compensation Review Committee is doing their final report on Tuesday at council. This is something that happens every 4-year cycle. It gets done in advance of the next election. The findings in the review are that council's salary is within the range of comparable municipalities, and that the formula of increases or decreases based on average weekly earnings should be the continued indicator for raises or decreases. So just a reminder, if average weekly earnings in the province goes up, council's salary would go up. And again, so this may or may not even meet inflation. If the average weekly earnings were to decrease, so let's say in a recession, council's compensation would be reduced accordingly as well. So it's a formulaic approach that just gets automatically applied. It has been this way for a number of years with council. A lot of other municipalities use something very, very similar. So reminder, this was a compensation committee of professionals who do the review. The other part of the review is I had been pushing very hard to have our councilor assistant salaries reviewed, comparable not only to like comparable city positions, but sort of outside positions as well. I'm going to say I find the work on that a little bit weak. I'm going to have some questions for the committee who did this, and likely we'll pull that out, and get some additional work done on that is what I'm hoping. And part of that is councilors' assistants are traditionally paid less. So most government staffers are traditionally paid less than their counterpart positions in the private sector or even in other public sector positions that are comparable. And there is a wide range of what councilors pay their staff. And there's a lot of disparity, and there's some pros and cons to that. So one, everyone can manage their budgets on their own, but two, we have people who are functionally doing the same position, have a big range in salaries, and that can create some misgivings between staffers. And we need our staffers to be cordial and friendly and work with all the other staff, because often we face a lot of the similar issues. They're talking, they're doing the same work. And so knowing that you're getting paid comparable to your peer is really important, just even like for personal value and worth. So some standards are really critical and important in an HR environment. Our staff are unique to us, so we are sort of the boss. We don't have HR support, so we're also reviewing what HR support looks like. So this is a lot of workplace modernization for staff that is really, really important. So as an example, with Councillor Pootmans resigning, per our rules right now, actually all 3 of those staff would have immediately lost their position. So we made some quick changes and some exceptions to make sure that they could get retained to continue to support the residents of Ward 6, who they would report up to. So these are a lot of things that haven't been contemplated. And so I've actually been pushing really hard to get this work done. And it's a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that is happening. And part of the reason it's super important is these actually are the frontline people who are serving Calgarians and residents through the ward offices very, very directly. when someone emails my office, Holly is the point of contact. She holds more institutional knowledge about the day-to-day operations and how to get resources and questions and answers for citizens than I do, because I'm working at the policy level. And so in working at the policy level, I am trying to make sure that our staff are taken care of in a really good way, because that's important. That's always been important to me as an employer. And as a leader in an organization, how you take care of your people says a lot about you. And so how we're taking care of our staff is really, really important. So that is some of the behind the scenes policy and governance work that is happening within the organization that hasn't existed for a very, very long time, or ever at all. And so that's really important. So in a similar vein, we have council committees. So committees of citizens who do advisory work at that civic or at that like citizen level, who do advisory work for our administration, and as well for council. So we have so like the anti-racism committee, the Aboriginal Affairs Committee, we have like the Combative Sports Commission. We have a number of different committees. We have the Climate Advisory Committee. We have the Advisory Committee on Accessibility. So these are positions that they take a fair amount of time. So we're talking like 3 to 10 hours a month some of these individuals are doing. And there had never like any degree of remuneration for these individuals who are, experts in their field. So like we appoint experts in fields. For a long time, like you couldn't get your parking covered or your transit covered. So I made some quick win changes on that so that like parking and like transit were covered. And now we've got a remuneration policy that will be coming starting with the 2027 budget, so that like your meeting time is compensated. If you need childcare, you can apply for that. If you need access to technology, that can be supported. When we want experts to give their time and their talent and their advice to us, remuneration is really important. And I would say most advisory committees and our boards who are advising to other corporations, there is a degree of remuneration that happens. Edmonton has a remuneration policy for their committee, and we hadn't had one. So I've been driving that work forward. The foundations are getting set in 2025, 2026 to start. No, the remuneration actually will start in 2026. So that is super good. So again, behind the scenes, how do we take care of our people who are driving our organization forward and creating better conditions? So for example, that would come out of this. So the Advisory Committee on Accessibility, when seasonal patios came forward, and the ramps to the seasonal patios were really poorly done, especially on 17th. And so the Advisory Committee on Accessibility worked really diligently with our roads teams to make sure that they were better, so those who had mobility issues could get around. Now, just don't think about wheelchair users. Think if you're pushing a stroller. As a parent, I used to pull the wagon. Like all of those situations, maybe you're pushing a grocery cart. There's lots of different situations in which like having a ramp versus a step really, really matters. But of course, not least of all those who are using mobility devices, wheelchairs, scooters, all of that stuff. And so again, time, talent, expertise, and problem solving, remuneration for those groups through standing committee meetings is really important. And just best practice. So that's a little behind the scenes on like some work that I've been doing and work that I've been championing, again, to support those who are serving our city. So with that, happy Friday. We have a lovely weekend. I'm sure the toboggan hills are nice and slick and fast if you're getting out tobogganing. I would say a couple things. Christmas at the Nation is happening. So the Seven Chiefs Sportsplex on Satana Nation, they've got a market there today. Go see that. Christmas Festival at Heritage Park. I'm going to be going to that with my kids this weekend. And I think there's a few other markets that are still happening, and lots of communities are still having some fun community events and movies and sweater nights and hot chocolate and all of those good things that happen in community through the holidays. So that is what I have for you, this is the last 15-minute Friday of 2024. I will be back in January, probably not till the second week, the week of the 6th. I wish you all safe and happy holidays, and all the best to you and your family and your friends. See you all.